So welcome today. Today we are looking at Looksmaxxing because this is an important topic for us to really focus on just for a bit. Because if you think that smashing your face or injecting synthetics into your body is the way to belong in a group community, or for people to love you or care about you or to succeed in life, you've already lost the plot. Because Looksmaxxing is not something new. It's not something that started with clavicular saying, oh, bone smash, or take peptides, or take these different, I think he's taken a lot of hard substances. And that is not what Looksmaxxing really is about. It's not about taking these synthetics as if it's something that's abnormal that started today. Because Looksmaxxing, I think, even if you're asking grandparents, they probably had some form of Looksmaxxing, but it hasn't, and it didn't go to the extreme of trying to take drugs and smash your face. So the issue is, again, like, you have social media that just amplifies a lot of the things. So if you're a parent, if you're a teen, if you're a parent that has teens, or you're going to raise teens one day, or maybe you have grandkids, or you have nieces and nephews, this video is for you, because you need to share this video with them if you're not a teen. And this is also for girls and guys, because we're going to cover the exact principles of Looksmaxxing to look your best. I don't care how tall you are. I don't care what skin color you have. I don't care what body type you have. There are things that you need to do for you to be able to Looksmaxx. Because again, Looksmaxxing is about maximizing your potential. Maximizing your potential in the world, your genetic potential, and your potential in the world as it is. And they're very basic things when it comes to Looksmaxxing, which don't require you taking steroids or taking synthetics like peptides or any other GLP-1 drugs, Ozempic and the like. And also like injectables, whether you're putting filler into your lips or your cheekbones, or even smashing your cheekbones with the bone smashing to create those microfractures. You do not need to do that. So the first thing that we want to do is just take us back. Say, okay, why should I listen to you, Nate? Why is this something that you should talk about? Right? Why is it something that I should talk about? Why is this a big deal? I care about this because me personally, I'm not that tall. I'm probably like 5'5", 5'6", on 5'6" on a good day. So one of the things that I grew up with was like, oh, am I ever going to get taller? Am I going to be 6 foot? I just realized, I just looked at my family and I was like, okay, no one's 6 foot. So probably not going to happen. But what can I do? What can I do? The best thing that I can do is make the most of what I have and control the things that I can control, what God has given me, and control what I can control. So maybe really, I didn't really take it like, what these teens are doing today, where you're like really taking it down to like a science of trying to figure out the drugs or anything. But I just got to the bottom of what Looksmaxxing was and understood. I pretty much understood, like, okay, a few things have to happen. And some things I was fortunate enough to just grow up around those things. And it was sort of like expected of you when you're growing up. So in terms of like dressing, making sure that your clothes are clean, your clothes are pressed, things like that. Because those things contribute to Looksmaxxing. And they probably contribute a lot more than people realize. So the first thing that I want to do, I just want to take you down memory lane. And I'm going to show you some pictures of me when I was young, and kind of my journey, let's call it that. and some of the things that I did. And then after that, after I show you some of the pictures, kind of the history, where I was and where I am today, whether you think I'm good looking now or not, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because as you get older, you stop caring about stuff like that. But when I was a lot younger, I had to go through that process. I had to think, okay, I'm short, I'm skinny, I had asthma as well at the same time. And yeah, like I thought about it. I was like, okay, how do I dress? How do I present myself? Because the other thing when it comes to dressing, when you're young and you have like maybe older siblings like I did, they pass down clothes to you. So you're not always going to have like the best fitting clothes. And because some of the clothes have just grown out of the clothes, and they get passed down to you because there's no need in throwing them out, because they've just grown out of them, and you're the next one in line. So you're kind of stuck with wearing your siblings' clothes as you grow. And the shoes, same thing with shoes. They're not going to buy new shoes because you're also going to grow out of those shoes very fast. So there's no point in buying new stuff and new shoes as you go through puberty and you're growing so fast. So you're kind of stuck in that situation because you're still growing. And so now I'm gonna share with you, just to look here, just to have a look down memory lane, just to give you an idea of what Looksmaxxing is all about. So let's see. Who's in the chat? We have some people in the chat. Who's joining us in the chat? We got some people. Pop in the chat. Where are you watching this from? Let me know where you're watching this from. Okay, so I'm going to show you where I was. So, okay, so essentially this was me. Looksmaxxing, Mr. Looksmaxxer. So the idea of swag and looking good is not a new phenomena, right? Like, it's something that's always existed through the time. As long as men and women have been alive, everyone has always wanted to look attractive, somewhat attractive, because again, like the attractiveness is, again, what allows us to find mates, find partners, and also procreate, right? So right there, okay. So I think we can look at that. So right there, that was me, right? So that was me. I was probably like 13, I'd say, right? So I was dressing up and yeah, getting some swag, had some chains. I had the popped collar. That was the in thing at the time. And this was the style. This was the swag. And I had my cap, you know, the cap has been a thing ever since growing up. So that was me, I think, I would say, yeah, around that time. It was like, yeah, 13, around 13. And same thing right there. So we got me again, skinny guy, afro. I was in Victoria Falls at this time, and you know, my boxes were there, and I had some pants. So this, it looks like I was sagging my pants, but I was actually probably underweight right at the time. So I wasn't eating enough. Or maybe I was eating enough, and maybe this is the time that I was growing taller, I guess, maybe. But I was kind of chubby when I was a bit younger, and then I just lost the weight, and then I used to play sports. So like, I think with the sports, swimming, so a lot of energy. I used to use a lot of energy just being active. That's just been my entire life, just being active, running around and doing stuff. So this was me. Right, so this was me, and I would say, like, I started working out around this time as well. This was about the time that I started working out. And as I was working out, let's see. So this again would have been me working out. This was probably like I was about 18. So that's about, yeah, when I was 18. And, you know, you can tell like I'd put on a bit of size. So I was working out, still, you know, still short, not tall at all. And this was me, right? Shirtless, you know, I'm flexing, posing. I don't know how to pose, right? I'm looking down, not looking at the camera. I don't know why I was looking that way, but that was just me. That was just the thing. And I had my friend here, Sean, and so that was me, like, you know, training and working out. Again, another picture of me, and this is when I was actually now, I would say, like training a bit more. I think it was, yeah, still like 18 again, and I'm still training and going to the gym. And I think I was finishing high school around this time. So this was around the time that I was finishing high school. So I think in general, like if you were to tell, right, like from there, like it's not like I had some confidence. Like even didn't matter how tall I was or what size I was still confident. Like I would, you know, flex here and there. Didn't really matter for me at all, right? So I was still trying to figure out, like, okay, what do I do with my hair as well? Because it'll grow, and then maybe I don't get it cut right away, and I would just be like, okay, let me go to the gym and work out, and you know, as long as I look good, it's not going to matter if I have hair or not. And yeah, so I was training, and then in between, the things that I just knew, like from the time that I was growing up, it's like you had to dress well. And for school, from like a young age, from like, I would say like from 5 years to not 5, let's say 6, from like 6 to 18, you're going to school and you're wearing uniforms. So you're wearing a blazer, right? You're wearing shoes. Let me see if I have that picture here. Let me just see if I can grab it. But yeah, but at that age, you're wearing a blazer, you're wearing shoes that are polished. You have to polish your shoes. You're wearing dress shirts to go to school. And it's just expected that you're dressing smart and you're dressing well. And obviously, like here, I'm wearing a suit. So this is just like the way that you would dress. And this was like more like prom. And I think I was shopping for a suit for prom. So these are all experiences that if you're growing up, sometimes you're fortunate enough to just realize or understand that, okay, the way that you dress is important and also contributes to the confidence that you build when you're young. So you're dressing from a young age. If you just learn how to dress, you learn how to press your clothes and make sure that your clothes are clean. First of all, you just need to make sure that your clothes are clean and they're pressed. That's number one, because you have to be presentable, right? You have to be presentable. So with that, I'm just going to look here to see. I thought I had this picture already. Let's see. I thought I had it here. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to keep looking at it. But yeah, so essentially you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself well. And when you present yourself well, your confidence just goes up. It's just natural, just like that. And then the other thing, just to point out, like as you've seen, like I mentioned, like I was still trying to figure out like my hairstyle. So from that age, me trying to figure out like, okay, what style, what is my style? The one thing that I just kept consistent was working out. So I'm going to show you with the workouts, with the gym. Where is that picture? Yeah. Nope, not there. Okay. So we'll come back to the schooling one with the uniforms. So again, like working out, this was me, I was now like 19. I was working out, training in the gym, some hard metal, just working out. And same thing with the boys. We had the crew, right, with the guys, and would work body weight stuff, would be training, no days off, just going hard, right? So that was us. We're training, Looksmaxxing, trying to Looksmax all the way, right? So you really go through this process, right? And as you grow, your tests, your hormones, they start increasing, and you start developing more muscles, features, facial hair, right? So for me, like at this point, like I think I mentioned in the other video that, you know, eating and just making sure that you're having a balanced diet with whole foods would actually contribute to how you look. And as you grow, right, over here you can see like I've got a bit of a jawline, and I'm training, and so this is what contributes to your confidence, and you build up from there. And so for me, like training just became the foundation for everything that I do, where now I don't talk too much or as much about training because it's just like part of life. You just keep it in your training, because I at some point I just feel like, okay, why do I keep talking about training? Like it's just, you just have to do it. You just have to be training, right? So this was me, like, okay, progressing. And then like even like when I'm going to the gym, like I wasn't as big at this point, right? I wasn't as big, was still, you know, growing, but I was still training. I had like my ups and downs, right? Because when you train, you start having like days that you, or months that you go hard at the gym, and some months you don't go as hard. And one of the other things is just like, okay, like if you dress well, you just go to the gym and you feel confident. You're like, okay, I'm dressed up, you know, I'm feeling good. So these are the things that build your confidence. And this is just the foundational confidence, right? Like walking out in public, because when you walk out in public, the first impressions do matter, right? And the first things that people notice are how you present yourself, which is how you dress, the type of haircut or hairstyle you have. Those are the things that people notice. And again, you got to take a shower, you got to bath and take a shower. So those are things that are important. Hygiene is important. So people notice things like that. And those are not things that you need to necessarily really go to the extent of taking steroids or like spend a lot of money. Like taking a shower and just making sure that you have good hygiene is not stuff that you have to really go out of your way to make sure that you're also looking presentable. So this was me at this time. So this was probably like the time that I was also starting university. And with that, I think one of the things that I also got into was just photography. Not necessarily like me taking pictures, but like posing, like modeling. Let's call it modeling. Yeah, that's probably the better way to, better word to use. So with the modeling, as I kept on training, I think, you know, when you're looking at Looksmaxxing, let's say I was like Looksmaxxing and I was eating. And so, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, right? So this was me in my earlier years, right? In my young years. So like the jawline, I got a pretty square jawline, right? And the goatee as well. And the teeth are pretty good. So one of the things that I would point out is when you're Looksmaxxing, one of the things that maybe I should mention is your teeth. Your teeth are probably the one thing that you want to make sure that get fixed. The earlier, the better, the younger you are. Because I think I had a lot of work done when I was still like a kid. Not even like, maybe a teen. I had like one surgery when I was about maybe 13, 14, where they had to like remove one of the teeth that had, one of the teeth that had like cavities, like bad cavities, right? So took it out because when I was young, I had like cavities. So you have to brush your teeth. So hygiene, again, important. Brush your teeth twice a day, at least twice a day, to protect your teeth. And the food that you eat, don't eat too many sugars, sweet stuff. If you're eating any sweet stuff, eat natural stuff and brush your teeth, because those cavities will just grow, and just brush your teeth. So this is me as well. Like, so no steroids, no drugs, no synthetics. This is just taking care of myself, hygiene, and that's it, right? So like haircut, hairstyle, just make sure that you have a good hairstyle and you will be looking good. And so once you do that, like, there's no need to take these steroids or anything else, because the moment you start training, again, like if you are training and you're eating, your jaw is going to build. You're going to grow a good jawline with some corners. And then the other thing is, as you grow, you're going to start growing facial hair, right? My facial hair didn't fully connect right here with my hair. But the way that your facial hair grows is also important for you to take that into account for your face, for your facial structure. So if you don't grow a full beard, it's better to cut it, because also people with a beard that's cut, right, you keep a goatee, it gives you, and depending on how you style your goatee, it can give that illusion of that jawline. Right, so these are things to think about, because when you're young, you're like growing this hair, you're like, okay, what do I do with it? Maybe your friends are taking are using a different style, and they're doing it and they look good. Maybe you're like, okay, well, how come I don't look as good? Maybe your facial structure and features are different. So you have to account for that. But the main thing, number one, is hygiene. Make sure that you're clean. You take a shower. That is number one. That is what people look at. How do you present yourself? Are your clothes clean? Make sure that your clothes are pressed. Those are the basics, right, as we go. So this was me. Now I'm, starting to Looksmaxx. So the results do take, a year, 2 years, but the results start to come in. And when they start to come in, you'll be happy, right? Obviously, like, the camera is a bit different and they're good. It's a better camera. And let's see. So I was practicing. So one of the things that I had to practice was like my poses. So in the beginning was a lot younger. Like, I was weird with my poses. I'll do like so many weird poses. Like, I didn't know how to pose for photos and pictures. So this is something when someone tells you like, oh yeah, why are you doing that? Like, you have to practice. Some of this stuff is, you have to practice. You have to figure out your angles. You have to figure out your angles. So this doesn't come naturally. When someone tells you, oh yeah, this person is natural, no, it's not natural. Let me tell you something. I've got a lot of weird selfies from, like, I don't know when, where you're just posing, you're practicing your angles, and then you're like, okay, this is the angle. Okay, no, not this angle. So you now know as time goes on, right? So you have to practice. Take your phone, pose. Go in the mirror, see, okay, how does this look? Okay, how does this angle look? Practice that stuff. You don't need to put something, because you can look jacked, but someone can frame mark you just because you've got the wrong angle. And then someone frame marks you, right? So these are things to think about. So as I've, kind of shown you over here. So let's see, how many more? So as I trained, and let's see. Yeah, so this was more modeling and, taking pictures. And then that was me. And like one of the years, I think it was like peak. I was peaking. My physique was peaking. Natural, no drugs, no synthetics. This is natural, just training, right, in the gym and just doing the work. And this was it, right? Like, this was it. And then at this period, I started thinking about, because I used to always read a lot. This is one of the things that I'm going to mention to you as well. it's, so let's actually, as we go through this, I think I was going to do this at the end, but I'll just walk you through this as we're doing this, because I think this is important for us to actually write down as we're going through this. But the first thing that I'll say, like we said, okay, you have to be, I'll split it into foundations, right? So you have being presentable, and when you're presentable, that is the first thing that you need to do. And hygiene, good hygiene. These are the foundations for Looksmaxxing. Being presentable and having good hygiene, right? So when we talk about being presentable, we're talking about your body, right? And your dressing. And I'll split it and say confidence. All right, confidence. So I'm going to give you, we're going to create a course right now that you can have for free. So if you've got a pen and paper, write it down. Then I'll summarize this thing for you. And then so that you have this thing, and this is it, because some of this stuff that we're going to cover here, no synthetics, no drug is going to give you that. No synthetics, no drugs are going to give you this, right? So first thing that we talked about, we said the body, right? We said hair. So figuring out your hair, we're going to do this head to toe. So hair, so you've got your head, and then other hairs that you have, you've got axillary. So axillary would be your armpits, your pubes, your, yeah, so, and then you have like your arms, your legs, right? For women, they're more particular about arms, legs. So these are things that you have to think about and take care of. And then you have, let's see, facial, right? And facial hair. So these are things that we're looking at. So the hair I talked about. So you want to make sure that your hair is covered. And then your teeth, we talked about your teeth, making sure that your teeth, you go to the dentist, you get the cleanings, you get them fixed. If you need braces or retainers, Invisalign, get your teeth fixed, right? Get them fixed. Fix them. Okay. And then the other thing that we're going to look at and talk about is, again, your skin. So with your skin, you have to drink water. So drink water. You have to eat whole foods. Avoid artificial sugars. Drink whole foods. Get your vitamins, micronutrients, vitamin C. Get some sun, vitamin D, vitamin E. Get your food. So you want to eat, hydrate, right? You hydrate, reduce stress, right? Those are the things that you have to do to reduce, to have better skin. Whole foods, right? Let's see, sun. Get some sun. And then you have, the other thing is your nails and body, like I'd say, yeah, nails and body. Nails would say probably hygiene. They'll fall into hygiene, right? Those will fall into those, because I don't think anyone has really like weird looking nails. And then the next thing that we're going to look at, let's see. Yeah, teeth. So haircut. Okay, so you're going to get your hair done. Auxiliary, facial, teeth. You fix them, dentist, skin, hydrate, whole foods, eat whole foods, sun. And your weight, work out. Yeah, weight. You work out. Jawline. If you want your jawline, do cardio. Cardio for jawline. If you want to get a jawline, you need cardio. Because when you lose weight, your features become more pronounced on your face. They become more pronounced. So when you train and how your body loses weight, it's always going to be from the top, extremities, right? And towards your center, the center of mass, which is your belly. That's why people have a tough time losing belly fat. And the bottom abs are the last to go, because that is where your center of mass is. That's where the fat accumulates the most. So everything starts from the top. So your head can actually start looking pretty good, and you can start looking chiseled, because you can find some people who look pretty thin in the face, but they still have a belly, and you're like, oh, okay, this person doesn't look fat, but they still have a belly. So you really want to pay attention and make sure that you do your cardio if you want to have a chiseled face. And your diet, make sure that you're not having sugary things, and you want to take care of any inflammation. So antioxidants, anti-inflammatory foods, you want to eat those so that you have a thin face. So that is one of the things. So make sure that you do your cardio and whole foods, more protein. If you drop carbs in your diet a bit, you're going to drop some water weight. So there's a difference between inflammation, water weight, and also just being fat. So you want to understand, like, okay, where are you exactly? Are you fat? Are you inflamed? Or are you holding water weight? Those are three different things. And you could be all three, right? So you want to figure out, like, okay, what do I do? But the best way, without really trying to figure it all out, is eat healthy, do your cardio. Your face will be sharp, right? Those are the things that you need to do. No steroids, no drugs. Do those things. At least, if you work out at least 3 times a week, maybe 30 minutes of cardio each day, you're going to be looking good. Because remember, it's not about doing it once or twice or for a month or 2 months, but it's about doing consistently, making it a lifestyle. Because when you start working out, when people say, okay, you work out, why do you work out? It's like you're killing so many birds with one stone, just going to the gym or doing your cardio. You're healthier, you look better, and you can be more presentable, better presentable, right? So that's the body as we're looking at this. And let's see, what else is part of your body? Your weight, we've covered that. Okay, boom. Your face, features, what else are people looking at? Your height, you can't really control that, right? But you can dress well. So that is the next part that we're going to talk about, dressing. How do you dress? You have to find your style, right? Let's see, my pen here is messing around. Okay, so dressing. So first thing is with the dressing, like I showed you, excuse me, as I was growing, I think I had a decent fashion sense. And I think at this point, I was getting some of my own clothes, but I was also still getting some clothes from my siblings as well. And I would also wear their clothes because I was probably the youngest. So with that was my fashion sense. But my fashion is kind of all over the place, to be honest, up till now. I don't care as much about what I dress as much, as long as I'm presentable, my clothes are ironed, and I try to dress for the occasion. But I don't care about designer. I don't care about brands or anything like that. It's okay, does this fit? Is it comfortable? Because what you find is, depending on your body type, let's say for me, I'm wide, but I'm short. So sometimes I have a tough time finding clothes, because sometimes the clothes that fit me, width-wise, don't fit me height-wise. And my upper torso is a bit shorter than the rest of my body, right? So, because my legs are probably average height, but then my upper torso is a bit shorter, right? So that gives me a unique body type where I have to figure out, okay, how do I dress? Maybe I get something tailored. So these are the things that you start considering. Say, okay, do you want to go down the path of just dressing you're wearing designer, or you get tailored clothes? How are you dressing? That is very important, because that also communicates a lot of things to people. and as you're walking out and meeting different people. So because one of the arguments with Looksmaxxing is maximizing your potential so that you don't get teased, and you also open up opportunities for you wherever you're going, whether it's like work, whether it's like going on dates, and you just want to dress well and present yourself in the way that you want people to treat you, right? So that is one of the things. So I've had like different fashion senses, and I think not like crazy wild fashion senses, but it's like I try dress for the occasion. If I'm going somewhere it's formal, I'm gonna dress formal. If I'm going somewhere it's like casual, I'm gonna just dress casual. If I want to be like, okay, just chill, relax, casual, like I'll do that. But the most important thing for me now is just comfort more than like, is this a brand? Is this some designer? Like, I don't care. So this was me. There's a time that I sort of like cared. I was like, doesn't really make sense, right? When I really thought about it, and this happened. I'll tell you, I'll come back to the story. Okay, so I'll come back to the story with the dressing, because so like I was dressing like I had, let's say for example, like I was doing the modeling, and then as I was doing the modeling, I started dressing up. Like I'll dress up like in suits. For example, like I would start dressing up, right? So this was me again, dressing up. Yeah. So let's see if I can show you the full. The full thing. Okay. So yeah, so that was me again. Okay, dressing up. Okay, I'm dressing up. I got a nice watch. Okay, I got a jacket. I got some pants. Boom. Okay, I'm dressing up, and let's see. Yeah, so like this was one of the pictures. So dressing up. Okay, fashion. Okay, so that was the same one. And then let's see. Boom. Okay, dressing up. I like my polo, right? And this is me doing like crazy poses, right? Just doing some weird stuff. You got to get weird with it. Practice. Boom. Okay, so I'm still dressing up a bit more, and let's see. Okay, so that's me dressing up. Okay, so this is the full picture. So I'm still dressing up, right? And then, let's see. Let's see if I have any more fashion sense. Okay, so that's me dressing up. So that was after. I think this was a bit after. Okay, yeah. So now, what happened was, right around. Okay, yeah. So like I think I was dressing up. Yeah, so I was pretty much dressing up most of the time, and then I started a business, painting, right? So with my dressing, as I was saying, like I was dressing up and getting some nice fancy clothes, and then when I started the painting business and just going out painting homes for people, I started ruining clothes, because I'd go on job sites. Let's see. Because I'll be going on job sites. Let's see. Do I have the pictures? What is going on? Where are these pictures? Yeah, exactly. Okay, I got them. So, yes, when I started painting, so I'd have like different crews that were working for me. And I would go on job sites. Let's say I'm going on a job site and I see them painting, and then I see them if they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. Then I'll be like, yo, why are you guys doing this? And then I'll touch like paint cans and stuff. And then so like, let's say, for example, if I go to a job site visit and I'm wearing my clothes and then I start touching stuff, I get paint all over my clothes. And so that happened a couple of times, because at this point, like I'm going to these job sites. And yeah, actually we did a pretty good job on this house. Pretty good job. And let's see, yeah, did some pretty good projects. So like as I would go to like these job sites, right? Because I'm like, okay, would go conferences. Now I'm like going out. I'm going to job sites, and we're painting, repairing stucco. Wow, this is bringing so many memories right now. Oh my goodness. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, we did actually some pretty good work. Oh yeah, decks. Summertime. It's actually summertime. Probably people are starting to paint right now. Let's see. Oh yeah, I remember this house. I remember the lady, Donna. So yeah, so like this was actually, yeah, this was it. And this was my production vehicle in my trailer. Used to carry this trailer. I had so many so many stories with this car. But anyway, so this coming back to Looksmaxxing, right? So what I was saying is when I began, like, let's say doing this business, like dressing wasn't really a big thing for me anymore, because I was going to job sites, I was going to do visits, and me dressing the part of, like, you know, someone who's trying to look smacks didn't make sense. So I had to like resort to like just wearing like painter whites and just wearing like dirty clothes that I didn't care if they actually got dirty, because they were like, okay, done, ruined, right? And they're like dirty with paint. So for me, that became like, it was a period in time where it's like, okay, I don't need to dress well because of the job that I was doing. So I stopped caring too much about clothes, and I ruined so many clothes, right? Some of the clothes that I showed you, they're gone, right? Because I ruined them going to the job site. So the first thing that you want to do is dress for the occasion, right? If we're covering this, when we're covering how to look smacks, dress for the occasion, right? Haircut for occasion. You want to dress for the occasion. You know, haircut, hairstyle, haircut. That is what you do. And the dressing, again, like, you want to figure out, like, okay, what is... No, you actually want to make sure that they're clean first. Your clothes. Your clothes need to be clean first. And then pressed. Right? They have to be clean, they have to be pressed, and they have to be either fitted, if you can get them fitted. So tailored, fitted. Right? So you want them tailored or fitted. And you can dress, you can shop, excuse me, you can shop around, and you want to find good material so that it lasts a long time. So you want to find clothes that fit your body, your height, your width, however you look. So you want to dress, right? So dress for the occasion. That'll be definitely number one, right? And yes, like haircut, make sure that you're clean, your clothes are pressed, they're tailored, they're fitted. And then the next thing, so right now, like as I'm writing, so that's where we are, right? So we're writing everything. Make sure that we have everything written down. So if you're joining us, make sure that you're taking notes. If you want to really make sure that you're looking your best and you Looksmaxxing. Okay, so tailored, fitted, and for your clothes, shoes, same thing with shoes. Make sure that you have good shoes, comfortable shoes, right? Shoes are important. Shoes are important. And your shoes, you want to have, you know, different pairs of shoes, right? Your casual, your formal, right? You want to wear casual, formal. So same thing, dressing for occasion, right? Casual, formal, and understanding what that looks like. Casual, formal, and semi, right? You can also say business attire, right? There's also like the formal, like your super formal business attire. You can also do that. Like If you're going like tuxedo, right? You want to look presentable. And with Looksmaxxing, like, let's say, for example, like now, or for me, I'm not going to try and dress like a 20-year-old or a teenager, maybe 20-year-old, 20-some, late 20s, but that's not the look that I'm going for based on where I am in life. And that's something that you have to also consider to say, okay, where are you in life? And where are you trying to get? And my recommendation is just dress, maybe, let's say if you see yourself as someone who's like more mature or something like that, just dress a little bit ahead of where your other peers are dressing, like where you currently are. But dress to match where you want to be. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So you want to dress where you're actually aiming for, and dress like that person that you want to be, the next version of yourself. Because life is about growth. It's about consistently reinventing yourself. So dress to the next level, like where you want to be. If you're like, okay, I want to dress like a retired person, a retired mom, or a retired teen. I don't know if they're retired teens, but just dress. If you're trying to work, you're trying to get to into the corporate world, you're trying to start a business, dress like that. If that's where you want to go, so that you start building your confidence, because that is the next stage. That is the next foundational piece of Looksmaxxing. It's that charisma, building that confidence. How do you do that? Right? How you do that comes from how you also dress. Right? So your dressing helps you with building confidence. Because Looksmaxxing, when people talk about Looksmaxxing, people care about Looksmaxxing because of how they are treated by other people. That is one of the things, because they're seeking validation. They're seeking external validation. But what a lot of these people don't talk about is that validation is not about like what's outside, what people are seeing. It starts with you as a person. That's where confidence, true confidence, that's where it's built. It's built from in here. It's built from in here. Everywhere, your heart, your mind, and your heart. When they're all in sync, you know exactly who you are, your identity, who you are. You will be able to build confidence. And one of the things that also builds confidence is resilience. Being able to handle adversity. Being able to handle the lows of life. Not giving up. So it's the stories that you tell yourself inside here, in your mind. That's really where confidence is built. Up in here. Up in here. Not with hormones. Not with peptides. Not because you look tan. Took a peptide and now you look tan. Not because you lost some weight taking some Ozempic. It can give you temporary confidence, but deep down, you know it's fragile. So to build your confidence, your dressing can help with that from the outside as you walk. But the moment you start showing people what's inside, when you start opening your mouth, saying the things that are on your mind, that's when people actually realize who you are. If you're worth listening to, if you're worth going on a date with, if you're worth giving that opportunity, it's about what comes out of your mouth. What comes out of your mouth is also revealing what's inside here and what's inside here. And if there's maybe a disconnect between what's in here and what's in here, your mouth will also expose you. So this thing here, your tongue, what you say, how you say things, is one of the most important things to building confidence. Because your mouth, your tongue, can reshape perspectives, can reshape ideas, and can reshape people's beliefs and thoughts. The words that you say can change a lot of things, because words have life or death. The words that come out of your mouth, they can determine so much. They can determine where you end up in life. So this could be like a whole entire different topic, but this becomes the foundation of Looksmaxxing. And this is the part that you have to really pay attention. What we're going to cover now is the most important part, because we're going to break it down. And if you don't have your notebook ready and your pen, you need to get it out. You need to get it out. This you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss. So the first thing that we do is I'll break it down for you. There are two parts to it. There is this, and there is that, right? So those two. So the first thing that we're going to look at is this. Because as I'm focusing on this, I want you to pay attention to this. Because your confidence, it doesn't matter. Girl, a guy, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And also doesn't matter. This applies to, it doesn't just apply to teens, but applies to adults as well. Even if you're a grandparent, this applies to you. This applies to everyone. So your confidence is built by what's in your mind. Your mind. And when we say your mind, it has, because I'm sure like everyone, a lot of people talk about this, right? So your mind is a processing, like your brain itself. It processes information. It has some capacity to remember certain things. But the most important thing that your brain is for is to process information. You're reading something, you hear something, you're able to connect the dots between different things. Because the world that we live in is so compartmentalized to an extreme where you have to actively think, learn how to think. Because when you go to school, you're told, okay, this is what you have to do. You have to memorize this, you have to cram this into your mind, and you have to store that information. But they don't really teach you how to connect the dots, because you can learn different subjects. But the question is, like, why are they separated? Why do you have one teacher for one subject and another teacher for another subject? And the world that you're going to go into is just one. How do you know when to apply something? What is the context for each one? So you have to learn how to apply. And that requires connecting dots. Because when someone talks about politics, but then they don't understand business. They don't understand human nature. They don't understand society. They don't understand anthropology. There's a disconnect. because someone now considers themselves an expert. They're over specialized in one particular field. And everything that they know, their confidence is coming from one particular frame of understanding the world. They haven't opened themselves up to understand the world from different perspectives. That is the place that sometimes we find ourselves with, like the traditional education system. So we have to learn how to connect dots and how to think. Because how to think is actually a skill. How to think, how to connect dots. And how you do that comes from understanding first principles in everything. What you call first principles. Because when you understand the principles, it doesn't matter if one thing or another variable changes because a new situation has been introduced, the principle still holds what it is. The details can change, can vary, but the principle is still consistent in whatever field that you talk about. And the first principles, let's say, for example, we talk about energy. We talked about energy when it comes to food. Energy is a constant. And I talked about how I didn't use a scientific term about conversion of energy. So the principle is energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It moves or it gets transformed from one form to another. Right? So that energy, the solar energy that comes in, goes into the plants, goes and it's stored in the plant as potential energy with the food, and then it's eaten. Right? And then there's like the cow. The cow eats it, for example, moves, and it's turned into kinetic energy. That's how the cow sustains itself, and then it gets stored again as potential energy. Not all of it is used, and then we also eat it, and then we use it, and then the activity that we're doing in a day is kinetic energy, and then we're transforming it into something else. And then if I move one thing, put it somewhere where there's height, and then there's the ground, there's potential energy because this thing has potential to fall. And that is all energy. That's just how there's energy moving around us all the time, right? So these are first principles. So we're not going to get into all of that, right? But these are the principles that we're talking about. You have to get down to the foundations, fundamental ideas behind things. So when you understand first principles, that's the first thing that I'll leave you with, is understand first principles of everything. And the first principles in terms of building confidence with your mind is you need to read. You need to read. You need to take in information. And when you take in information, you need to process that information, right? So first principles, you need to read, learn, read, right? You need to read. There's another component to this. Right? When you're learning to build confidence in your mind, you need to read. And when you're reading, what you're doing is, well, let's come back again. Actually, there's another underlying principle, is experience. Experience in life, that's actually the foundational principle, is experience. So experience is important. And experience, you can get it in, the reading is a way to get that experience. So you need to have experience for you to build confidence. Experience in winning and in losing, both. You need to learn how to win, and you need to learn how to lose. Because there's an art to losing. There's an art to winning. Everything has an art to it. And you need to learn. And you need to learn how to process it, because you need to learn to learn how to go through the emotions. You get over it as fast as possible, and don't get attached, because the art is in not getting attached to the wins and the losses. That is it. You don't get attached to any one of those. You lose, you let it go. You win, you let it go. You move on. Don't get attached. Don't celebrate for too long. You celebrate just enough. Don't cry for too long. You cry just enough and you move on. Because you still need to process that emotion. Take the lessons and move forward and build. So, experience. Reading, like I said, is probably the fastest way to gain experience, right? You can read books and get into the habit of reading a book, like one every month, one every week, depending on your reading pace. It doesn't matter, but just keep reading. Be in a constant motion of reading and practice of reading. And that's why I picked The Power of Habits. This is probably one of the most profound books. If you're going to read any book or pick any book to read, I know people talk about Atomic Habits, but most of Atomic Habits, he gets his stuff from The Power of Habit. And Power of Habit is like scientific. It's got case studies. It's got everything. The Power of Habit. Because this will transform your life. Your habits will transform your life. And they will determine your future. So this is my number one recommendation to someone who's like, okay, I want to read, right? Because it's a book that if you start reading, you learn so much about humans, about how to transform your life by building better habits. Because sometimes you're like, oh, how do I become this person? Or how do I become this person? How do I transform myself? Without reading, it's going to be very hard. You're going to try, discover, and experience everything on your own. But if you transform your habits first and be the person who reads, life changes. So read. You're going to read and you're going to gain experience from other people. Right? So if you're reading a book a day or a book a week or a book a month, you're gaining experience from a lot of people in a short period of time. And you don't have to go through the things that they had to go through, like the failures, right? So you're cutting down the time and you're learning from the experience that they had. And if it's a writer that you're like, I don't like this writer, I don't like this person's work, it's okay. You can learn how to read because you don't have to accept everything that you hear or read. You can just read it, see what it's about, right? And then obviously don't read things that don't align with your values. Don't waste time, but read the things that help you develop faster, whether it's like the Bible, whether it's like The Power of Habit, for example, Atomic Habits, or Think and Grow Rich, business books, different books. There's Robert Greene. He writes some very good books that help you understand people. And those are books that you can read. So that is how you gain experience, other people's experience, and fast track your experience. And that builds your confidence, because now these other people that have experienced different things, they've opened your mind to different experiences that you didn't have. And maybe you don't have the opportunity to have. So they've opened up your mind to a different world. Now, when you have conversations with people, you have perspective. You have a better perspective because maybe that person has actually lived through the experience that other writer wrote about. You can have a conversation with that person. You can connect with that person. You can connect to that experience. So that is how you build confidence, because people then realize, oh, wow, this person, what they said is so profound. You can ask you, how did you hear about that? How did you know about that? And that is because you read. You're well-versed. You understand things. And it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of cool. It's just kind of cool when you know other things. Because now what's going to happen is it's going to get, probably this is you better pay attention to this and come back to this video. Probably in like 5-10 years. Because what happens is that, wow, this is crazy. Because right now what's happening is what's happening with AI is it's learning from people, because everyone is typing in, giving it information and feeding it and helping it learn. So when you read, you're essentially doing the same thing. So this is first principles, like I said. First principles. To become smarter, because AI right now is just a brain. It starts off as a dumb brain, right, with underdeveloped eyes as a baby. And the more people interact with it, they make it smarter. So it's not because these technology companies are doing something crazy and great. It's because people interacting with the AI and helping it get smarter faster. And the more people that come in and interact, it has so many perspectives. And the job of the AI is now to organize all of this information and data and make logic, understand, create logic around the data that it's being fed. So that is what is going on. That is the AI. Like I said, like processing. It's just like your brain. So the AIs are draining the information, or not necessarily draining, you probably have your information, but technically they're draining, because now you're depending on it, but it's actually dumber than you realize, right? But if you read all the information that's already existed, like in the universe, if you're able to do that, like you'd make a lot of things will make a lot of sense. And the moment you do that, you have a good understanding. When you walk into a situation, you can quickly understand what's going on right away. Or when people are having a conversation, you understand, okay, this thing is being talked about, maybe it links to this thing. And maybe you become that person who connects ideas and connects people in a conversation. Imagine that. And then you become that cool person who can talk about this and talk about that and connect dots and just help people come together, because you can help people connect dots. So that is confidence. That's how you build confidence, is through experience. So you can gain experience through other people, or the other thing is you personally can go and have experiences. So you can have personal experiences. Personal experiences. Right? So you can go and have personal experiences. And for me, like with personal experiences, I've ran a business, right? I've done some modeling, as you can tell. My amateur career, I've worked out. I do like workouts all the time. And let's see, what have I done? So this was me. Oh, that's me right there in the corner. So that was me. I don't know what's going on. That's like university, same thing. This was like RA. So that's me again. RA, my crew, and that's me again. So this was like the painting, or crew, college pro, that's all crew. And that was me again, painting. So that was my painting company right there. And I talked about, so this was also like me working out, going out. Let's see. Yeah, this was me again, painting, franchise. And let's see, what other experiences have I had? Oh, that's me. I've gone, what's that, skiing, right? Horse riding, gone fishing. Right, so let's see. Let's see. This was golf. Let's see, where's the golf picture? Can't see the golf. Like I've done like photo shoots with the university as well. Oh yeah, there we go. Bodybuilding. So this was my first show. I don't know. So this is the thing. Just do everything with confidence, with a smile, right? Like no one really cares, to be honest. And yeah, so this was me like competing in bodybuilding again. And it's not that like I wanted to be like a pro bodybuilder or anything. And then that's me again competing. And then this was probably like the best that I ever looked, right? Competing. And let's see, what else do I have? Yeah, so this was, yeah, golfing. And then, yeah, and then at one time I was biking. I was doing like biking, you know, traveling, all sorts of things. So the moment you start going out and you start doing things and experiencing life, that is what also gives you confidence to like go out, talk to people, be like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Like, you know, you can have conversations. And one of the things with experience, right? Like, it's like when you have experience, like you've read, you've gained experience, this now ties into another category, right? Because as you've seen, like with experience, when you have a personal experience, you see people who have written books, they're sharing the experience. Because now they've become very confident in the experiences, right? And that confidence that they have has allowed them to share it with you, and you've read it. And now it's going to come a time that your experiences, you can share those experiences with other people. Teach them stuff. Teach them the things that you've done, what you've managed to accomplish, the problems, the lessons that you've learned. And that way, you continuously build your confidence. And for you to be able to do that, you want to learn how to communicate. You want to learn how to communicate. And learning to communicate comes in different ways. You can do public speaking, right? Communication. Right, communication. So you can do public speaking. So the different things that you can do for public speaking, you can practice in the mirror on your own at home. You can join Toastmasters, right? Join groups. You can volunteer, join some community, and contribute, right? Get involved. And you can find jobs. The best thing that I can tell you, the best thing is learn how to sell. Learn how to sell as a skill. Learn how to sell. This is going to be one of the best skills that you'll ever learn in your life, because you're going to achieve so much and gain so much from that one skill, because you're learning to communicate and articulate your thoughts, the value that you have, how you can help other people. You're going to get rejected, and that's part of it. That's what you need. That's a purpose, and that's why you learn sales, because you get rejected. You remove the attachment from the result, whether you get the sale or you don't. You know how to just go through it. The wins, you win. You don't get too excited. You're like, okay, yay, let's go. You keep moving. You lose a deal? Okay, I'll get it next time. Okay, I should have fixed this. I should have done that. I'm going to get you guys next time. Because the moment you learn sales, right? So the moment you learn sales, this was me, sales. I had the best sales. I got this belt. We used to do this belt thing where you get the most sales and you get a belt. And this was me. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I started selling probably when I was I'd say probably 18 because it depends on how you sell, right? Like I used to manage a business when I was like 17, 18 with like transport and like people who were like 40 years and I was like 18, so like double my age and stuff. And, you know, I had to hold them accountable and not cause fights, right? But because they still had to, and I still had to like measure them, right? Like say, okay, like, you know, this guy is older than me, but I gotta call him out on this, right? So you have to learn how to communicate with people that are older than you, people that are younger than you, and just realize that you as a person, you have to have that confidence. Say, I'm doing this not just because you have to, but it's going to help your life. Open up opportunities for you. Open up doors for you because you know how to communicate. You know how to speak. You know how to articulate. And personally, now I'm training. I'm practicing because right now I'm talking to just a camera. No one's here. It's like, listen to me. So I'm like, okay, let me just speak, right? So I'm always trying to figure out. But right now, what I'm saying is learn how to speak. The best way to do it is learn sales because you're learning at the same time you're getting paid. That is the best return on investment. One of the skills that has the best return on investment because you learn how to sell and also sell things that you believe in. Don't sell things that you don't believe in. Learn how to sell and sell. Get some sales, get some experience, and get paid for it. That's what you need to do to build your confidence. Because with sales, it's going to test you. You're going to get destroyed at one point. You can be like, I don't want to do this. It's uncomfortable. I don't like people telling me no. It's part of it. That's life. That's how you build confidence. Because rejection is part of life. Some people have the preference of going out and dating and, you know, picking up girls and stuff. You can do that, but it wastes your energy as a guy, as a man. It wastes your energy. It's better for you to wait for the right lady and go for that one. And you won't miss because you understand the psychology and you've been getting paid. Already, your bank account is also going up and you're learning how to sell because people underestimate the effort it takes to master a skill. And I think Robert Greene says that it takes about 10 years, 10,000 hours. People talk about 10,000 hours, but it also takes about, you know, a span of like 10 years, maybe, depending on how often you do it, right? You can shrink the timeline when you go through so much experience. So like, for example, you read a lot, you take courses, you learn from so many people, and then you go and practice yourself. So you can shrink your time to become a master in something. So that's one way to do it. But still, I think time also matters because you have to go through different turns. Let's say, for example, if you're a salesperson, you might know how to sell, but you might only know how to sell in a specific economy. Because now probably selling with AI is different than what it was maybe 2-3 years ago, or like 10 years ago, even more, right? So when you have experience selling through different times and periods of the economy, like let's say if you're selling in a recession, it's different when you're selling in a time when the economy is booming, because the way buyers behave is also different. So those are the things that you have to understand. The first principles, again, right? You have to understand and respect time. Respect time as an individual. Respect time because when you're trying to Looksmaxx and rush to say, I want to look the best and build your confidence, you also have to recognize that there are people that are ahead of you that have already gone through this process, because what you're facing and what you're going through right now is not something new to you alone. This is something that has existed over time. And the people who are now in their prime, and your prime is probably going to be like when you're like, when they say like life begins at 40, they're not joking. It's, you know, it's a metaphor, but it's really trying to tell you that you peak around that time because you have amassed so much experience. You've learned, and now you have experience, and now you can actually pave your own path and really go to the top. And maybe you've made some connections and you have people that are behind you. So that is important. Don't rush before you build the foundation. So you just have confidence in building the foundations, right? This is now the mind. This is, as I was saying, like these are the important pieces, the most important pieces to build. This is where the meat, right? The mind, this portion here, this is where the meat is when you're trying to Looksmaxx. It's about this guy, your mind. So again, make sure when you're looking at stuff like this, right? Like let's say, for example, like when I was talking about like, communicating, it's like you're going to learn how to communicate these ideas, learn how to sell, learn how to do these things, and your life will change. And because, like I said, like your mouth, your tongue is a difference between life and death, right? Because your mouth can make you very rich without you lifting your hands or anything. Just for example, like even if you have your phone, right? Your phone, and you just talk to someone on the other side, someone can actually listen to you and buy whatever offer that you have because you have experience, you know how to solve a problem, and you can help transform someone's life based on your experience, the things that you have experienced. Don't fake it, right? You have to be very responsible. Do not fake it, because when you fake it, people will figure it out. And when they figure it out, your reputation goes down. And one of the things that is the hardest things, one of the hardest things in life is to try and fix a ruined reputation, because it takes years to build it. But it can take a few words, a few minutes, a few seconds to ruin a good reputation. That's how it is. It's not fair for some people, but that's just how long it takes. So you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. So learn sales, but be responsible, because once you learn, you understand sales, people are trusting you, and you have to be responsible. That is the number one thing that you have to do. You have to be ethical. You have to be ethical. You have to be. And yeah, look into Jordan Belfort's story. Like, the guy is good at sales, but he got into some trouble and didn't work out well. But learn sales. That will help you. And then that will also help to give you confidence. I've also seen like some salespeople who are great at, their job, but they have a tough time talking to, let's say, women, right? So learn, read books, understand the opposite sex, to understand who they are, right? And when you understand who they are, you can also have confidence to approach, talk to them, and you'll be able to relate. So those are the things that you have to think about when it comes to building confidence and your mind, to have that confidence. And that comes with competence, right? As you do things over and over again, you gain confidence and you gain competence, right? Like being a master at what you do. And also, like, maybe for you to gain confidence in your mind, maybe you don't necessarily need to just learn to sell. Maybe it's you gaining confidence in just mastering what you choose to do in life. But I still think, regardless of what you do in life, you have to learn how to sell. Because what's going to happen is you are going to have to sell to the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. You have to sell them that idea that you're the best. You're the person that God chose for them. That you're the person. So you have to learn. You have to learn to do it, right? And you're going to have kids. You're going to have to sell your idea to the kids to say why they shouldn't eat sweets, why they shouldn't eat ice cream late at night. You have to sell them, right, on these ideas. So you have to learn how to communicate. You can't just lash out, just say, no, don't do that. Right? You have to help them. Help them think for themselves. Sell them on ideas. Even at your workplace, at your job, maybe you have to sell an idea. You see that, okay, things need to be done a certain way. Now, maybe you understand that there are certain dynamics, and you have to understand, okay, who is it that you have to sell that idea to? That is the other thing. So selling is important, right? This is important all for Looksmaxxing, for building confidence. Because again, Looksmaxxing is not just about how you look. People start looking at Looksmaxxing because they want people to respect them. They want people to love them. They want people to include them. And people will do all of that stuff just because maybe you present yourself in a way that they're compelled to do that. Not because you smash your face. Some people might look at you and say, oh man, this guy is crazy. You did what? What? Right? So that's what you want to really think about when you're thinking about Looksmaxxing. So your confidence, your mind, right? Your mind, that is it, right? Probably the most important. This is the meat of everything. This is the meat of everything, okay? So once you figure it out, and also remember, like, because when you take peptides, you take synthetics, the GLP-1s, the different androgenic hormones and whatever blockers, like all that chemistry stuff, the pharmaceuticals, the pharmaceutical nerds can tell you all about that stuff. What that does to a young man's mind and brain when it hasn't fully developed, if you're still under 25, your frontal lobe hasn't fully developed. These synthetics can ruin your brain development, can ruin your perceptions. They can give you a false sense of confidence. Because some of that energy that you feel, you're like, oh, I can go, yeah, look good, I'm frame mogging, oh, yeah, I'm hair mogging, oh, yeah. All of that stuff goes away. Boom, it's fake. It's fake news, fake confidence. So don't listen to it. It's just fake. It's synthetic, right? Because it's synthetic. It's fake. So keep that in mind. So now we've covered that for confidence. So you're addressing your mind. And yeah, because at the end of the day, the mind is the most important. The dressing, the outward appearance gets you in the door. But for you to stay in, it's about what's in here. It's about how you communicate. That's what keeps you in. That's what keeps you in. That's what these guys that are all over the internet are not telling you. Because it also takes work. And you guys probably hate doing the work. So they're selling you the easy way. There's no easy way. Lots of people have tried. You can't run away from it. You think thousands of years, like all of a sudden Clavicular just found out this crazy magic formula and people haven't been talking about this stuff all this time because what? Huh? Look more into that guy. And you'll see that, you know, what he's selling is not the thing. And I'm sure like there've been communities about Looksmaxxing and stuff online. I'm not saying he's the guy who came out with everything. He just took it mainstream, right? But the fundamentals still remain the same. It's the hard work right here. What's in here? This is the work that needs to be done. Because even if you hear this, don't be that person who hears this video and doesn't take action, because you have to go out and do this stuff. Because it's not good to just listen and just hear it and just sit there. You better be taking your notes, or you come back to this video and you listen to it again. And you keep on listening to it again as you do this, because you have to. So you see this, I'm selling you on this idea of coming back to the video, right? So you have to do this, right? I'm selling you, and yes, you should come back. Watch it, share it, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. So that's my sales pitch for that part. It's done for the day. But we're still moving on, right? We still have more stuff to cover here. So as we keep going here, so you have your mind, you're reading books, you're going out, you're having experiences. Let's see, what other experiences did I have? Did I cover everything? Because I remember, yeah, I went skydiving. Where's my skydiving? Oh yeah, this was it. Another experience. Boom. So I can talk to someone about skydiving. I can talk to someone about painting. I can talk to someone about, I don't know, Victoria Falls mountains. I can talk to someone about business. I can talk to someone about, yeah, bodybuilding, different things. I can talk to someone about, I don't know, so much. I can talk about diet, nutrition, faith, all the things, right? Because I've put myself out there. I continuously put myself out there to experience things and go out there. And these are things that, as a young person or someone who's growing up, and even if you're much older too, I still recommend to live life to the fullest. Put yourself out there and go out. If you have a partner, if you have kids, do it with them. Take them out to these experiences so that they have these experiences. And they gain the confidence naturally through experiences, through family, and environments that are safe, not for them to go out and smash their faces and try gain confidence that way. Like, take your families, take your kids, take your spouse, take your grandkids. Let them enjoy these experiences and gain confidence in the real world. And buy them books, buy them things that can help them understand the world and have them build confidence. Their mind, invest in their mind, because some of these kids, the teens, are being exposed to some of this content, and most parents, some of them don't even know. They just see their kid is just blown up, is just taking steroids, is like looking jacked, or you know, they're getting butt lifts, or they're getting injections in their lips, and they're doing so many crazy things, or they're telling you that they want to take Ozempic, or they're like, oh yeah, I don't want to eat today. Maybe their eating pattern has changed. Maybe they're taking like GLP-1 drugs. Maybe they're getting this tan in winter that you're like, how's my kid getting tan in winter? There's no sun. And they haven't gone to like a tanning lab or like a tanning studio. How are they doing this? So those are the questions to ask. Pick out and pinpoint what your kids might be or your grandkids might be exposed to. So these are things that you have to pay attention to. So if they haven't watched this video, make sure you share it with them so that they understand that they can do this without all of these drugs. Yes, it's going to take some time. They have to do the work because other people ahead of them have already done the work. Other people ahead of them have done the work. Okay. So we've covered that. Okay, so communication, important. Public speaking, spend some time on the mind, because I cannot emphasize again, like, if you have to come back to this portion, about the mind. Experience and communication. You have to, because your brain is going to take in that information, you process it, and then you can communicate it to other people. And you can share it with other people. right? So now we're going to come back to, well, this is the last part here for our stream, is good hygiene. So now we've covered, I think we can summarize. We're going to go to good hygiene. So we talked about the body, how to, the foundations of Looksmaxxing, right? You have to be presentable, good hygiene, right? These are the foundations right here. The two, you got, my pen is not writing. Okay. I'll try and get it more ink. Okay. So body, right? Your body. And so for your body, you got your hair. So you got your hair. It's going to get a haircut, auxiliary hair. So that's your hands, your pubes, your armpits. You want to take care of that. Grooming, important. Facial hair. You want to make sure that you're also taking care of that hair, whether you grow a full beard or you don't. Take care of it. Make sure you get a cut that matches your facial structure, right? Teeth, get them fixed, right? Go to the dentist. Skin, hydrate, eat whole foods, get some sun. Your weight, go work out. Cardio for your jawline, do some cardio. Within like a month or two, you should be seeing results. Caloric deficit, should be seeing results. And then dressing, dress for the occasion. Number one rule for dressing is dress for the occasion, right? Get a haircut, clean, pressed clothes, tailored or fitted. Those are the things that you have to do. Your shoes, again, important. Casual. So you have to learn, like, you have to have clothes for the different occasions. So you have like, okay, casual, formal, semi-casual, business, casual, or business, right? Tuxedo, if it's like a black tie event. And yeah, and then so that's also tying into dressing, right? Into confidence, because all of this stuff, right? This is what gets you in the door, right? This is first impressions. This is what gets you in the door. And then with your dressing does build confidence for sure. And how you look, right? Like presentable, being presentable, like you're dressing. But the most important thing is the mind, right? So first principles is experience. For you to be able to have confidence, it's like, okay, does this person actually live on earth? What experiences are you having on earth? Like, okay, who are you, right? What culture are you coming from? What languages do you speak? Like, who are you? Like, are you interesting? Why should people care about you? Why should be people interested in what you have to say? What is it that you have to say? So that's, again, the first principle is experience. So you can get experience one or two ways. Through your own personal experiences, go experience things and do stuff. Write a book if you want to about the experiences that you have, share it with other people. And read. You can gain experience from other people. Secondhand experience, it's still good if you don't have access and opportunities to certain experiences, because that opens up your world to understand what other worlds exist out there. And you can have more conversations with people from different backgrounds, because maybe you can relate to those backgrounds. And through books, and maybe you have better questions to ask. Your curiosity is piqued. Yeah, your curiosity is piqued. And that helps you communicate better, right? And your questions actually have confidence. People can sense, okay, this person's actually confident and they're curious at the same time. Interesting. So those are the things that you have to really think about, right? When you're thinking about your mind, and then you have to learn how to communicate. And you can communicate with people at home, people at your workplace. You can learn by joining Toastmasters communities where you participate, like even in your church. You can participate and take positions that are involving or that require your leadership, so that you start making some decisions. And that's actually another piece. It's like leadership, communication, and leadership. Oh, wow. My pen is gone. My marker is gone. Okay, I'm out. My ink is out. Okay, it ran out. Okay, so we'll summarize this. Okay, so leader. I'll just write maybe with empty. We're almost done. So leadership. So you want to join organizations or associations that require you to lead and be part of a group where you're leading. So I've had since, yeah, like I told you, from the time I was 17, like managing a business, it was like, I didn't really think too much about it at the time. Like I didn't think that it was a big deal, because I was like, okay, 17, managing people that are like in their 40s. And I was just like, okay, I'm just doing my job. And that's just how I looked at it. But I also understood how you still show respect and hold people accountable at the same time, and deliver on results at the same time. So those are things that you have to really think about. Like, okay, so for me, what experience do I have? Have I been in any leadership positions where I've had to like make decisions or hold people accountable? And that could be, even in school. If you were in school, if you have like clubs, if there are any opportunities for like volunteering where you're actually leading people in certain ways, I would recommend to do that, because it builds your confidence, because you actually have people that are following you. And when you get results, or those people get results, they're thankful, and you've contributed at the same time. And that builds your confidence. That builds your confidence, because that is what's going to keep you in. So you want to get in the door, but stay in. Okay. And then your reputation follows you, because remember, at a certain point, it's no longer just about Looksmaxxing, it's about your reputation. Because you could be good looking, but if your reputation, this is what Clav is not saying. With all the different scandals that he's going through, the thing that he's not paying attention to is his reputation. Because his brand value is going up with the views, like a lot of people are noticing him. But what happens is your views go up, but then all of a sudden people figure out that, oh, this person, I don't want to follow this person. This person is telling me things that I don't want to listen to, or that don't align with my values. And maybe he's leading people the wrong way. So that's one thing that someone like Clav is not really thinking about it. He's not really thinking about right now. Because he's maybe young, right? He doesn't quite understand some of this stuff, because reputation, like I said, it can take you years to build, but it can take one incident for it to just get ruined, right? Because with the way social media moves today, like things can just be like, boom, out, done. Or you can just get banned from all the social media platforms. You just don't know what's going to happen. So that's the thing to be important, to be very careful of. By listening to this fast pace and fast hacks. These hacks, they work for a time. For you to understand the hacks, you need hacks when you have experience. If you're someone who doesn't have experience, like people tell you, oh yeah, hack it like this, like that, like that. When you're starting out, there's a time and place for everything. That's what you just have to understand. There's a time and place for everything. Like those synthetics, maybe they're good for someone who has a specific condition, because most of them are medicinal, and most of you wouldn't be able to get them just over the counter. You have to have a prescription, meaning that they're classified to treat certain conditions. So if you're trying to get them just to have this lifestyle of Looksmaxxing, ditch that, right? So now, to wrap this up, we're talking about nails, good hygiene. So we've got nails, your hair, shower, take a shower, right? Shower, bath, right? Because that's going to help with your skin. That's going to help with smell, right? And smell, you want to smell good, right? Those are the things that are most important. Nails, right? We've talked about nails, showering, smelling good. So like if you're using deodorant or cologne, right? There's a lot of information on different fragrances and different deodorants that are good for you, natural ones, and the ones that are bad for you because your skin absorbs some of these deodorants and colognes. So you have to be careful and watchful. So picking like the natural options and the cologne, anything you're spraying, I recommend and always resort to spraying on clothes instead of like your skin, directly on your skin. Clothes much better than directly on your skin as well. So that's one thing that I do recommend. And yeah, so I think those are the main things. Like the other stuff we talked about, like the grooming with the hair, right? Like your body, because I think hygiene, you can also include like, you know, your grooming. So like the hair. And general things when it comes to hygiene, they're not necessarily, it's not also just about your body, right? It's about where you are as a person, like where are you? And recognizing that you have to clean after yourself. Everything that you do, any place that you move, like that's just how this general etiquette, right? It's cleaning after yourself. Whether you're coming from the washroom, you're sitting in a place, you eat something, you take your plates, you take them to the kitchen, you put them in the sink, you put them in the dishwasher. That is etiquette. That is what you call hygiene. It's just like natural. It just has to be natural for you. Just build that habit. That's why I told you power of habit. Because most of these things that we've talked about today, you have to build habits around them. Just to be automatic where you're not thinking about it. Because the moment you start thinking about it, it just becomes so much. It's like, oh no, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. It just has to be habit, right? So grooming, cleaning up after yourself. Okay, my marker is gone, but maybe I'll create a document for this. We'll see. If you guys want to get a document, let me know. Just let me know, comment, and then I'll create a document. But this is what we have, and you don't have to, I'm not going to make you pay for this. This will just be free for everyone because I think some of this stuff is ridiculous, right? So yeah, so you have to clean up after yourself, like, you know, bathroom, kitchen, all right, so like all of those things, and just in general, like your house, like, okay, take off your shoes, things like that, right? Removing shoes, when you're going outside, like separating the stuff that you're going outside with, like your shoes, whether it's your shoes or your clothes. If you go in a place where it's like, okay, most likely it's not clean, right? If you're in public, and then your home clothes might be different. You change, you remove your clothes and wear different clothes when you get inside the house. So those are the things that you have to think about when you're talking about hygiene. It's just like how you handle yourself. So this has nothing to do with all the other things. It's just like general stuff. That is what it comes down to. It's just like, what are your habits? Your hygiene is important. It's just as important. And people can see, like, okay, if this person has good hygiene or not, right? So like, one of the things that I'll also point out, and from experience, like, so for me now, I'm bald, right? But as you can tell, like, you know, I had some, you know, pretty good hair, boom, that I used to keep. I had some pretty good hair, you know, some, you know, fresh cut, had lined up. And what you realize that, you know, as you get older, it's okay to go through a process where you reinvent yourself or refigure out like, okay, what fits you, what suits you. So when you think about it and you come to a point where you're like, okay, I'm settling for this hairstyle, it might take you some time to really figure out like, okay, how best can I optimize my looks with this hairstyle? So it comes down to like, for me, I think this period was like around the pandemic, where I had to, well, barbers were closed for starters, and I had to start experimenting with like my hair, like getting my hair cut, whether it's like on my own or with like a barber who'd like cut my hair, or what tools would I use if I was going to cut my hair, my own hair? Because I tried a couple of methods, didn't go so well. And there's another story about my hair when I was young. Like I used to put like chemical to like curl it, and that was a whole another thing. I went to school at grade 5. I was like 10 years old, curled my hair, S-curl, went to school with it. You know, all the kids laughed at me. So this whole Looksmaxxing thing didn't start today. It didn't start now, like way back. We used to do this stuff. And yeah, and so like most of this stuff is not new, right? It just takes a different name for starters, and sometimes it just gets more extreme and extreme, but it's not always the best thing for you. So like with the hair, I had to use like actual like shaving cream. I tried it. I didn't have to. I tried it, like the shaving cream, and take the blade and just like shave everything to the skin. And I reacted. My scalp just didn't like it. And it's like I knew I had sensitive skin, but I didn't realize how serious it was. Where my scalp just got swollen, and I had ingrown hairs all over. I couldn't put my head down, and it was bad. It was bad. So I went through that. So those periods and those things, they happen. They happen to everyone, right? It's about figuring out, okay, what's the best way to do this? So I went through that, and then I had to I tried like using those not the balding clippers, actual balding clippers, but those things that you scrub your head with. I tried that. I still had like ingrown hairs, and ingrown hairs like a problem for me personally, right? Like, so I tend to get ingrown hairs, and working through that's like problems that you face, right, all the time. And I had to find a good pair of clippers that I could actually use to groom my facial hair, and also like remove my hair. So proper clippers. So if you can, if you can, like, find a way to get like good tools for grooming. That is one of the most important things. Tools that don't hurt you, that don't harm you, and that you can do on your own. That'll save you money, because you don't have to get like a $60 haircut or like $100 haircut, but you can do it on your own, and it's simple enough. And trust me, it'll go a long way. You'll save money, and you'll be able to just cut your hair anytime. You don't have to depend on a barber, because sometimes your hair grows so fast and you want to get a haircut every 2 weeks or every 1 week. So just having a means or way to just do it yourself goes a long way. So investing in good grooming tools is a game changer for you. And experiment. Yeah, people will laugh at you. You're going to go through it. Like, yeah, sure, you get roasted. That's whatever. It dies. Like, it's fun, right? It's fun. It dies. And the most important thing, again, is not to think that these guys are coming up with like these, out of the box ideas. Looksmaxxing has been tried and tested for, I'm sure, centuries. Because if you've seen like some of those tribes in Africa, they'll do like those lobes, right? They'll put like holes in their lobes. Or you have like those ones that, they put the lobes in their nose, uh, in the ears. Those big rings, the hoops, and people put like the bull rings. People would do all sorts of things. So for like centuries, people have been always trying to do that. And like I think the tribes where they do these dances, like the teeth, like I'm forgetting which country it is, but in Africa where they do a dance where they're like blinking and they're like showing their teeth, and they're trying to show how white their eyes and their teeth are to get a partner within the tribe. And the person who can jump the highest also gets to pick gets the person that they want, or the girl picks them, depending on which way it is, right? So those are the different, and some cultures will do like dances, and they pick the person who can dance the best or who has the best features for them. And that is it's not unique. It's not unique to 2026. The need and desire that everyone feels like they have to go and rush and do this stuff, it's not unique to any one person. This has existed through humanity, through, I don't know, like people still do it in Africa, I'm sure. Like in Swaziland, they have like the Umhlanga reed dance where the king picks his new bride each year, I guess. Yeah, whenever they have it each year. And they do these dances. And all the women from all the different places, they get brought to the king. And he picks his bride. But they have to like do this performative thing. And essentially that is like, in a way, Looksmaxxing, what you're trying to do with Looksmaxxing, to open up your opportunities and have a better life. So it's not something new. It's been done. It still happens in different tribes in different parts of the world. But again, you don't have to go to these lengths of smashing your face or taking steroids and doing these crazy things and peptides, GLP drugs and blockers and all the peptides in the world. So you don't have to do that. Like what's that new one? Like, oh no, it's not new, but Retta and GH something, GH1 or something, I'm forgetting what the name is. But all of these drugs are now becoming mainstream, and it's becoming a trend. And it's not good. Ditch the drugs. Leave this Retta to other people and people who are sick, who actually need the medication. Don't use them as lifestyle drugs to lose weight, to look good, to compete. You're not Mr. Olympia. You're not trying to be Mr. Olympia. Your life does not depend on this stuff. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Right? It's not worth it. There's so much that you can do. I'll show you, like, for example, I had a transformation. Let's see. Look. Sorry. So this was a 3-week transformation, right? When I really dialed in for a bodybuilding show. So me dialing in for this show, I was still the same weight in 3 weeks, but I was able to dial in. So some of this stuff, right? It's like water weight, like I was telling you, like when you really dial in your nutrition, you understand what you're trying to do, and you dial in, you can make significant progress. And your look can change, right? I didn't need to take any like PEDs. This was just like natural training, cardio, and being consistent. Because I won't lie. Before this comp here, this one here, you can't see my mouse. But yeah, before this one, I'm looking full. Yeah, this one. Before this comp, yeah. I ordered a pizza. I think it was like almost 1 week out, and I was coaching myself. So I was coaching myself. I did this competition. I was coaching myself. This was it. But it was so tough because I was still running my painting franchise at the time. And I remember like I ordered a pizza. I was like, okay, dieting. I wasn't really like tracking it, like dialing in my macros, right? Like I was still doing my morning cardio, working out in the afternoon. Okay, cool, boom. But yeah, I had a pizza. I don't know if I told anyone, but I had a pizza. Just to, I didn't have anyone holding me accountable. So so I had a pizza before my bodybuilding show. I was like, yeah, I'm tired. And I was just craving. So, I entertained the thought. And then, like, middle of the night, I was like, let me just get Domino's. And then I just got a Domino's pizza. And then I just said, yo, I'm starting peak week early. And then, yeah, I peaked too soon. And then I was overblown for the show. And then this was now, like, I got a coach for the 3 weeks. And we dialed it in because it was like, yeah, like he was like my friend. So we dialed it in. And then this was a transformation in like 3 weeks, right? So this is the difference between, really knowing what you're doing and not knowing what you're doing, because some of these results that they tell you, like, okay, you have to get these peptides or you have to get these peptides or tren or PEDs, performance enhancing. You don't need to get those. You can simply follow a nutrition plan, tailor it, dial it in, and you can get results. And what you need to do is just commit to doing the work and have someone to hold you accountable, because you don't want to be like me here, where I had a whole pizza and I wasn't tracking everything. I wasn't even measuring my sodium, my water intake. Like, I wasn't really doing all of that. I was just doing it on my own. And when I hired a coach, this was the difference between the two. So, because you don't need to depend on, some of these synthetics. You just have to do the work. You have to do the work. You cannot skip. You cannot skip the hard work. So anyway, fam, like, I hope this video made sense to all of you or anyone who's watched. And again, if you need to come back to this video, come back. And if you haven't, share it with someone who might need to watch this. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's going to help the channel grow. And I can understand exactly what kind of content everyone wants to watch. If you like more of these videos, leave a comment leave a comment below, and I will make a schedule to include some of these videos in the content that I make for this channel. So enjoy your day, and I will catch you guys tomorrow.